Oh, got it. Just got the thing.
Hi, everybody. I'm here. It's Patricia, and I'm with Michelle Tremblay. Michelle is the owner of Empower Lives. And we were talking, and we decided to live stream a lot of what we are talking about. Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
So, how many of you out there have not been sleeping properly or waking up at 2 a.m.? Michelle, I think you've been waking up, right? It's been plaguing you for about 2 weeks almost,
Oh, it
right?
feels, yeah, and it's just
And
been
me
like
too.
nonstop.
Yeah, it kind of like makes me a bit pissed off because I'm like, gosh darn it, I'm doing all this stuff and I'm still being woken up. So, a lot of people just get angry. I think that's like a normal reaction to kind of be a little peeved about it, right?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Are you seeing other people around you?
Yes, everyone's like, oh, when I say I haven't been sleeping for the last few days, they're like, oh gosh, really? I thought it was
Yeah.
just me.
Yeah, what I find amazing is everyone thinks it's just them, which is why we wanted to talk about it to all of you out there not sleeping, needing sleep. I mean, we're starting a brand new year. 2023 was a shit show for a lot of people. It really was. And there's no lying about that. I mean, a lot of stuff happened and we got to like really make 2024 a better year, but you can't do it without some good sleep.
Yeah.
So, what's up with that, really? I want to maybe shed some light on it because, like I say, it's been plaguing Michelle for a while. It happened to me many years ago. And in fact, I was probably getting awakened and being kept awake for about 2 months straight, like years ago. And it showed up a lot. Like one of my mom's friends saw me and she said, "Oh, I know what you're going through." And yeah, like you're not sleeping, are you? And I was like, no, I'm not sleeping. Now, I have had my son's aunt who knows nothing about ascension or twin flame stuff. She's having it. I had other people who are in denial that there's anything happening here on planet Earth, have it happen to them. So, what are you seeing on your end, Michelle?
Same kind of thing. And also just like no, people are like the jittery and the I am nervousness and the anxiety and like, what do I
Yeah.
do when I get up that early? Should I get up? Should I move around? It's like, it's literally crazy making. And for me personally, it's just been hard to function, to do my day and feel like, oh God, I feel like I've not been able to get the things I wanted to get accomplished. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm just gonna go with it. But it's like, okay, I'll take a nap during the day because I have that
Oh, the
privilege of,
naps never happen, do they?
no,
I
well,
mean,
I
maybe you get a Sunday afternoon and
sort
it
of.
does.
Yeah, or just like maybe an hour and that's it, but your body and your mind is just like, oh, I'm just done.
Yeah. I
Uh,
think you hit the nail on the head. It's the mind stuff, like your
yeah,
how about racing thoughts?
totally. Like everything and anything you want to think about. I've been going through this process of processing like conversations and things that other people have said, but also just feeling like, well, where's this voice coming from? And I'm just like, hi, yi, yi.
Are you ever tempted to just then go look it up on your phone like, "Oh, I'm awake at 2 a.m. I'm just going to go to like the version of Google or Encyclopedia Britannica on Google like why are the tides so much stronger? What's a king tide anyway?" And you're like, where in the hell did I get this random thought? Like
Yes.
random racing thoughts that are totally irrelevant to your life.
Yes. And
And
I
somehow it's the most compelling thing for your mind, right?
yeah, and then it's like it's wanting to find a solution to try to make it go away. I'm like, oh, well, I'll have a drink of water, I'll try some exercise, or I do this. And it's just like, it's like makes it crazy making because it doesn't just happen once. It's like the consistency of every single day. And you're literally
You
like,
want to find a solution. Some other people just want to get hammered or check out. That's part of the problem, I think, is
mm,
that people are going and retreating back into their old things. And this is the way I see these wake ups. We're being woken up on purpose. It is a part of the ascension, it's part of the shift. If you're not shifting your mind, your mindset, like there is no point in doing all the yoga in the world if the mind can't follow or keep up, because that's part of it. It's a part of us, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. And so go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, like I've never seen it be so long for me. Usually it's like a stint of like a few days, but this time it's been consistent for a long time. So I know I'm going through something really big right now. And
So what
it's
do
a
you
big
feel that big thing is?
it's I just feel like I'm being birthed into something new. And what is really powerful is I just moved into a new space and I'm really attracted to butterflies right now. And it's like I must be cocooning to come out into
And
something.
metamorphosis.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I've been through these kind of stages, but this one feels really like popping up and out with something totally different, which feels like a new me coming forward, a new part of my work, a new part of like sharing my gifts, like all that kind of stuff.
Okay, I'm going to call you on something right now. You said that you felt like the wake ups at night were triggering your fight or flight. So, talk a little bit
Yes.
about that, how it feels, because I can feel the same thing. And I know what it is. It is connected to our hearts, like our physical hearts. Go ahead and talk about your sensations, your feelings.
So I noticed that I would have all this tension in my neck and my shoulders, and it would feel like I was like, I couldn't breathe. And it would stay,
Gadunk, 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 gadunk,
yeah,
gadunk. Yeah.
but it would be like that in my body for hours.
0 to 60.
Yeah, and
Like
I'd
you're going
stay,
from full sleep to suddenly you're wide awake and describe it.
yeah, even not even being asleep, but not even like getting from trying to get out of that state awake, going to sleep, and then waking up exactly the same way. And I'm like, oh, this is like awful. And I'm
Yeah.
like trying to pull like, okay, maybe I'll just like brush this energy off of me, and it's not coming out of my body, and I'm just like, ah! I don't know if anybody else feels like that. I just want to punch something. Which,
Yeah.
I know that something's happening. And of course, we've had conversations too, just about what was going on a bit, but it's awful.
Yeah. Not to mention, sleep deprivation really does do physiological things to the body. I mean, and this has been proven, it's been proven scientifically. It happens to students if they're cramming for an exam or they're studying, or prisoners of war and they're being deprived of sleep. It does weird stuff to the mind. It makes people negligent, it makes them sloppy. And they don't mean to. A lot of people have really good intentions, but accidents happen, slips happen, forgetting to do part of a safety procedure that happens.
Hmm.
And this is really critical. This is what I realized, is that the sleep is a part of our like early warning system. I mean, how many people do you know that let's say prior to this shift, a train could go through the room and they would still sleep?
Hmm.
Or, like I remember growing up as a kid, and a lot of people would smoke and they'd fall asleep on their sofa. Next thing you know, there'd be an apartment fire or a house burning down, or they burnt themselves and the sofa. And it was an accident, but these are preventable accidents. I mean, I think we need to talk about some of this stuff, and like not just the importance of sleep, but what it's preventing, preventing the brain fog, for preventing the forgetfulness, the negligence that happens.
Like you just said too, like people I know right now that sleep hard through the night are waking up and they are like, I got a meeting tomorrow morning. I've got a function, and they're starting to get, oh, well, I'm just going to go to the doctor and get some pills to sleep. And,
Let me tell you, as someone who took something homeopathic And homeopathic remedies tend to work where it's opposite. And this had something called coffea cruda, and which is from the coffee plant, coffee beans, and it was from green coffee. So it had caffeine in it. But here's the principle is that by triggering the opposite, you do the opposite, by
Mm.
triggering some of that stuff. So it helped a little bit. And I wanted something natural because I mean, there's people in my family, like they'd wash down their Valiums with like some scotch and, call it a day and try to pass out. But the problem with that is you're just suppressing the real problems that are going on. You're suppressing your emotions about it. I mean, we all have families, and those families have ancestries, behaviors, patterns, codependencies, addictive things, I'll say. And so, like, tell me a little bit about what you see on your end with
Well,
this.
I wanted to say too that when I first got woken up, like started to feel energy, this is something that people are starting to ask me a little bit about, is that I could not sleep. And I went to the doctor and I actually put me on a sleeping medication.
Yeah.
And we never talked about anything like what else was going on in my life. And I was like, great, I'll just take this pill and it will knock me out. Well, it got to a certain point where it was like a couple months, and then it was like I couldn't sleep still with even having it. And
Yeah,
I
it's
was
like
like,
it has a placebo effect for angelic people
yeah. And I
because
thought,
those of us who have our light body that's trying to gear up here, things
yes,
just don't work. And that's not to criticize people. Please stop criticizing the medical community.
yeah,
They go for a long time to school and they have a lot of training and a lot of testing before they even put their hands on you. Okay,
yeah.
so I think we need to really look at what is the core thing that is happening here. Stop criticizing our medical people and the other teams that are trying to help, which yes, there's good intentions, but maybe there's something else that God has in store for you.
And I think it's like, if I just want to share this too, and this is not about the sleep, but it is about the fact that, like, being in a really bad relationship that I was in, first thing I did, went to the doctor because I had high anxiety. What did he do? Put me on medication. And what did it do? Mask how I really felt, which is I needed to get away from this toxic person.
Oh yeah. How
And
many toxic people have we had in our vaginas, right?
pretty much. And so, like, I know that there's a point where we're just have to get really clear and deep on some of these things, which is when you and we've known each other for quite a long time now.
Yeah.
And I tell you, like, it's a whole different ball game when you start to do this work. And sometimes it doesn't feel like it's great and it's all fluffy and rainbows, but it's part of like it's part of that process that you have to go through.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't
I
change.
honestly don't know why people want fluff. I see it going in the direction of people want real stuff, real results,
Yes.
real love, real
Yes.
relationships, real friendships. This is a
Yes.
lonely road.
We're
And a lot of
done.
people are
Yeah.
complaining and they are feeling this loneliness epidemic. And then when you couple it with like you're waking up at night, you're not even fully rested, you're crabby, you're cranky, you're short tempered, you're sleep deprived. I mean, this just like makes people's last nerves raw
Yeah.
and
And you feel
it
kind of,
doesn't help anyone.
it's like you feel on edge and you don't want to be short and snippy and everything else. And it's just like, oh, I got something has to be different and I
Yeah.
need to do something different. And I know, like, through Christmas, it was a really challenging time that I felt this loneliness. And I know that I'm doing the work, but I'm also human,
Oh, people
you
were
know?
snarky, weren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of
Yes.
people, I mean, here it is, the holidays, like goodwill to all of humankind. And people just weren't there. They just weren't
Oh,
there. I noticed it with road rage, just driving. Like,
yeah.
oh,
Well,
yes, please,
yeah.
kind sir, I left that little space cushion for you to just cut right in front of me and possibly cause an accident.
Yeah. And what I really felt this season, now that we've moved into the new year, is this feeling of dissatisfaction.
Oh,
Not,
it's pervasive out there. People are so, I would say, dissatisfied, disgusted because it's the same old, same old. I mean,
yes.
people are expecting a shift, but nothing has changed,
Yeah.
essentially.
And
It's back.
I see it's like the boredom and the same thing. And I feel that too, that energy. Like I do a lot of, work, but I'm feeling that kind of blasé about it. And I'm like, what the heck is this all about? But I
Yeah.
know you probably can shed some light on all of that.
Well, to me, it pertains to the light body. It pertains to us being human angelics, those of us who have awakened, that angelic side of is awake. I mean,
Yeah.
it's trying to wake you up to not go back to sleep on all the crap that needs solutions, starting with your own life, starting with you two as a twin flame. What are you able to help your twin with? Like, really help them with without it
Yeah.
being critical, without it being in the old ways. Like, oh, I'm going to hold space. Do you know how many people have told me I'm holding space? It doesn't work. What
Mm.
works is making space in your light body for your true connections to expand, to open, to
Yeah.
elevate you, to ramp it up for you, to get your hormones balanced, even your sleep hormones, your fight or flight hormones. Because, yeah, who wants to live on adrenaline and cortisol? Not
Yeah.
me.
No.
People, that's not normal for people. And when I read for people that have a twin who is in, like, let's say, emergency services, they're paramedic, or they're in like some kind of quasi military, or they're police, or they're a martial arts expert. Okay. I've even had people with bruises show up on them and there's no one living in their house, right?
Yeah.
Because their real twin is taking the blows. They're taking the brunt. They're an adrenaline junkie, and they can't flip onto that other side of themselves.
Hmm. And I'd find sometimes too that I was like, okay, I am waking up probably because my twin is up or not up, and I'm doing something. So I started to figure that out. Now I would get messages too about that. And I knew that there was something deeper that was going on between the two of us, and that this was part of the journey, even though it's crazy making.
Legend has it that if
Yes.
you're awake, that you're in someone else's dreams. So,
Yes.
yes, as a twin flame, I would definitely say that. And these are things that I don't think other twin flame people are really talking about, how this ascension really works. Like, this is definitely not a cult. I mean, Jeff and Shalea don't know jack about this, and they're not, sorry, they're kind of false. They're kind of
Yeah.
false. I showed them, and you know what? People are telling me, I'm just saying the wrong things are being talked about out there, and we need to get down to the nitty gritty of what's happening with the body, because your body is what you want to put together. Your body is what you need to open and expand. Your body is what's going to help you get to the next level.
And you know what I loved about what you said is people are looking for the real deal. We're done
Yeah,
with
real
the,
friends, real lovers,
yeah,
real things
narcs,
that never leave, real things that are not
garbage.
codependent but are
Yeah,
truly supportive.
garbage, narcissistic, you know, all that, control, everything, like all that garbage that, I mean, I've been on that journey myself to even understand what a trauma bond was, like all that stuff. And if the work is not being done, or the intention to change that, it's the same old, same old. And it will just be a constant, it affects your psyche. It affects your, like, you're constantly in this state of panic. Like nothing is like stable in your life when you are with those kinds of connections. It's all over the place. It's
Yeah.
awful. And
Yep.
people will take their lives because of those kinds of connections, or like it's a slow death in their own way of just like feeling like they're functioning, their own sense of well-being. And I see it as like, unfortunately, sometimes it is just the fact that people are together because of, they've got kids together, or it's their
Financial.
financial things that are going on. And it's just like, that's awful. And it's fear. And I know, Patricia, like you've helped so many women get through situations that, where they've been miracles that you've talked
They've
about.
reached out for the help. And
Yeah.
that's a key difference, is making the decision that you're going to do this, that this isn't just the life where you find yourself. This is the life where you create your brand new life, your light body, your true twindom. I mean, I even, twin flame has such a bad connotation out there right now because of the word narcissist, because so many people zone on their emotional wounds from this, that they neglect to follow through and do what it takes to really be who they came here to be, and that's not you. That's not the people that have like joined. Those are the people that like, I get the questions, like, does the divine feminine have to go through a kundalini? No. In fact, your kundalini belongs to you. You have to bring it up to your heart level. If you don't know how to do that, start learning how. And when you brought up a good point about suicide, okay? I mean, people take the slow route through drugs, alcohol, like loosely call it plant medicine. And, I don't like this euphemism as well. It's a plant. Cocaine is from a plant, you know.
Yeah.
Other plants are highly toxic, nicotine's from a plant.
Yeah.
But, too much of it and it's going to give you lung cancer. So, there comes a toxic point of things, and your own light body wants to reject that, doesn't need it, doesn't want it, doesn't require it for your ascension. But the detox of it, that makes people angry. It brings up their emotions. And a lot of people get hostile. I frequently thought we need not just a crisis line or suicide line, we need a hostility line to
Mhm.
help people get in the routine of being able to properly regulate their emotions from the deepest parts of the psyche that
Yes.
remembers all those terrible traumas. Okay, the person isn't going to remember it with their mind and go like, oh yeah, oh yeah, remember when those Phoenicians came to our little town in Sicily and they just pulled up on the beach and wanted to enslave us? Oh yeah, remember that? Well, I'm suddenly panicking, right? But the body has a memory that's going to remember that. Oh, guess what? It's trauma o'clock and it's time to get rid of that now. So who has trauma o'clock where you're either going to kill or be killed, and you don't even understand why, as you're going to pick up your kids? Like, why are you feeling so triggered?
Totally. And I just watched something. I have a TikTok channel, and there was a guy on there. It was really profound, and he had a meltdown right on the video screen, and he was talking about his loneliness and his fact that he's just a mess. And he says, but I'm going in to do some breath work. And the shift, just even after he did a bit of breath work, was amazing.
It's
And
palpable.
yeah,
You want
so
to know why?
I'm
Well,
sure
tell
you
what
can.
he said. Tell what he said
Well,
or
he just
did.
his whole face was just like light, and he just felt like he got rid of a lot of the emotion. And as a male, I think it's really difficult for men to just connect to that part of themselves, which, is just
Yeah.
stigma of how they're supposed to show up and blah, blah, blah.
Which is why, if you're a female who loves a man, do the breath work so that he gets the hint through the body, because you have an eternal connection to each other.
Mhm.
So the reason that breath work works is there are channels to open that go deep inside to your central nervous system. And your central nervous system doesn't just have fight or flight or rest and digest. Okay, we're not 5 years old. We are complex, multidimensional beings, and we have peripheral nervous system. We have the part of us that has to have sense and sensibility, or as my guides frequently said, use the sense that God gave the animals and steer clear of this or that, right? Sometimes as humans, we want to override it or we want to be provocative. And we have to stop ourselves and do the thing that's healthy for us because it's healthy for everyone around us too. So
Mhm.
the breath work actually works with that side of your system that helps you flip it like instantaneously, usually within 4 breaths. Those are the kind of results that we get in our groups that we do. And you work a lot with children, helping them to feel confident and
Mhm.
to not be bullied. And we don't want to stand up to the bullies because I don't know about you, Michelle, but back in my day, God, that sound, I shouldn't say it like that. In my neighborhood, a lot of people would get tense with each other and there would be like fight after school, right? And there'd be a fist fight. And the odd thing I thought about this, it's sort of like what I call the Father Flanagan method. You
Mhm.
slug it out, you shake hands, and now you're friends because you worked it out, right? We can't work out this stuff anymore because there's a never ending supply of domestic violence, global violence, petty violence, petty, shitty things that people let themselves build up a case over. And it has to stop. It has to stop at some point. So, what if instead, in the moment, you said, hang on, I'm going to try a little bit of breath, right? So you're teaching these kids to like catch themselves.
Yeah.
Hopefully, by the time they're adults, they don't lose that.
Yeah.
I'm on the opposite end. I'm teaching adults who've been through toxic marriages and childbirth and, like false twins and toxic family stuff and codependencies and addictions and, recovery and I mean, I've had people who've practically re-enslaved themselves to the person that they divorced. I mean, one woman really, she just had to like sell the house out from under her ex-husband because he would not budge. And he was a bad drunk and he would get drunk. And I mean, the concern was that he'd go out and hit someone with the car.
Mm.
And, there it was. Everyone knew he was, and she couldn't hold space for him. She couldn't even have him in her space because he didn't belong there. So Michelle and I, we see the same stuff, even though we are working with two different, ones with children, they've got stuff. Those kids are bringing in their karmic stuff to like finish it once and for all. Finish and clip off your karma. It's not easy, but it's not impossible.
Yeah.
And I'm working with people who you're getting the wake ups. You're being made to stay awake because you can never again go back to sleep on that. You got to sleep at a new level. You got to refresh your light body when you're sleeping. You got to refresh your mind, your eyes, your heart, all the places that truly matter. So this is the progression of it.
Yeah. And when I just got back to teaching because kids just got back to school and they're all fresh and ready to go, which is great. When children, they're a little bit more open than adults are with this kind of information and they are they are the generation that we want to get these skills and tools at such a young age so that when they get to our age that they've got
Yeah.
this basis in their lives. I also work with teens too. A group of grade 9 girls that I'm doing lots of stuff too, and a lot of
Oh yeah.
high
When they're
anxiety.
through puberty and their hormones
Totally.
are like woo
Hormones.
woo.
Yeah. And they just, they need an opportunity to talk and share about some of the things that they're struggling with. It's intense. Just recently we've, like you said, with everything that's going on, we just had like three shootings just close to where I live, and I'm like, this is like awful, and gang
Yeah.
stuff and blah blah blah. I know that stuff pops out and things happen, and what is like going on with
It's time to stop the drama. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, yeah, go ahead and
and the
continue
fighting.
that. What is going on?
Yes. And it's like the fighting. It's like, and I'll give you a perfect example, walking to into a school one day, and all of a sudden I could just hear this kid screaming and yelling. And he was talking to the principal, and the principal said to him, like, there's no, there's no excuses for how you're behaving right now. This needs to stop. And they ended up getting him calmed down. And then after, when I was doing a big presentation, I just made a point to go see and talk to him. And he looked at me and he says, I really need to work on my anger. And I says, well, you're in the perfect place. But like, that's the child recognizing us as adults. We need to be
Oh,
aware.
let me
We,
tell you something.
we
There
need
are
to be aware.
people, I think we should talk a little bit about electric and magnetic, which I could loosely describe electric people as being the alpha and like the outputting, and the magnetic being the one who gets backstabbed. So, whatever one people relate to.
Right.
But these are energies that need to alchemize the stuff that's happening with our body and our lives. And when people talk about alchemy, that's what creates the alchemy. It's not just masculine, feminine. It's like getting the oscillation effect going so that it's electric, magnetic, and it's like creating that spark, that fusion that's necessary. So, people that are overly electric, they tend to be provocative. They'll self-describe as being someone who's a go-getter, but they also kind of know the power of being the electric in the sense that they like to keep people off balance. They like to be the provocateur, and they sometimes get a rise out of riling people up. They do it on purpose. I mean, I've seen it time and time again. It could be the school bully. It could be the
Mhm.
person that's, a person at the office. And a lot of times, people who are magnetic, they're magnetic because they're creative. They gather in, this is part of the magnetism that they have. They gather in, they lead in a different way. But a lot of times in the past, they have accumulated so much stuff that they're holding space, or they took on people's stuff, or they're the empath. They're overly empathic. They are way more empathic than they need to be. And they're carrying burdens, and they're carrying it on their back. And you even see it physically in their back. They have back pain, shoulder pains, etc. you
Mhm.
know so we need to dialogue about, like, how do we help people balance that and find their healthy electric side, so they know what to take action on. They have their healthy magnetic side, and then it's actually a balance. It's more like a 50-50 equalization there, the
Yeah.
equilibrium that's needed for true alchemy. And yeah, it's a chemical equilibrium inside the body of the right balance of hormones and stuff. How do people, like, let go of the drama? This is, I think, what's really upsetting me too personally, is seeing this drama everywhere of people, under the guise of different, laws or something, that like they're entitled to go create chaos for other people without properly addressing or finding a solution for what's really happening. What is the core issue? And
Sometimes I
yeah.
just think people just like they do get off on being like that. I've had that
Oh,
experience.
hell yeah.
And
Definitely.
it's awful to be around because I'm
It
like,
puts people on the defensive. They're on
totally.
guard. They're guarded. They're
Yeah.
afraid. Sorry, people, you're scaring us. You're
Yeah.
scaring some of the rest of us with your drama.
Yeah.
Like, stop, 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 making everyone else pay for your moods. I mean, time to invest, time to really stop expecting the system to fix everything and then blaming the system. You are
Yes.
part of that system in a past life. You helped create governments and societies and cultures. Okay, so now it's not working for the mass population because we grew. It's time to grow. We outgrew it. We literally, like little kids, you work with the little kids, they're outgrowing their toys, they're outgrowing their clothing, their shoes. They outgrew those friends. They outgrew, due to puberty, they outgrew that old thing that they used to do. When you see it in kids, you can see that.
Oh,
And,
totally. And I know
yeah,
I
go
was going to
ahead.
say, and yesterday when I asked the kids who were, because I have a martial arts background. So we do the balance too is the yin and yang, and also it's the masculine, feminine. And if you're too up
Hmm.
here in the electric energy of the masculine, you won't be balanced as a martial artist. You can see that in the forms and the katas we do. But one of the kids asked me this question, and we were talking just about how I said to him, I use my martial arts every day. And he goes, "What, you fight people all the time?" And
Oh,
I
I
was like,
love it.
and I thought, but it was a good point. And I said,
Yeah.
no, I don't fight, but I do know how to deal with my frustrations and my anger, and I'm not going to go hurt people. And that's a proper way to control it and punch a
Yeah.
bag instead of punching someone's face. Like
Yeah.
there's a difference. So he was like, his eyes were big. And he was like, yeah, like he got that. And he knew that that was a better way because I know sometimes, yeah, these kids struggle with just their own stuff when they come in and walk through the door.
Yeah. And they're not just children, they are here also to ascend too. So, we
Yes.
need these trainings, we need these teachings, we need the new stuff because,
Yeah.
making it new. And they use that too as a technique for people who've been trafficked, hit, you're not hitting people, but you have to get that out because
Yes.
there's pent up aggression, or as I like to say it, the pushback.
Yeah.
Real angels, at some point, we will bite back, and there is a pushback. And you're seeing this worldwide, you're seeing people pushing back. You're
It's
seeing
true.
people, asking for, let's get real solutions. I mean, we
Yeah.
can't keep doing this learned helplessness, you know?
Enough is enough. I know that I don't understand this, but I do. It's not easy to sometimes
Hmm.
admit and be honest with yourself
Yeah.
and say, this is not working in my life. And I know, like, I get to a point where I'm just like, I got to do something. I got to go talk to someone. I got to do this. I got to do something. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to medicate. I don't want to do any of that kind of stuff. And thank God I've been able to do this work because it's taught me so much about my gifts, my emotions, my everything, who I am, who I'm becoming, what I want to let go of, who I want to tell to like let go of, and where I want to just be in a place though. And as you know, as an angelic too, it's like you just hold this love, like you hold so much love inside you, and
Yes.
you hold that for your significant other, but you also hold that to humanity in a way where you just want people to be well and to be lit up and to be happy and to have their dreams come true. Like this is what it's all about.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, seeing people shine is so much preferable. In duality, so many people have had a bad guy. And I heard it on National Public Radio. I was at the beach and I was walking, and here's a guy sitting, and he had his little transistor radio on. And there was a radio show on, and it was two men talking. And what the men were talking about was, you know what? We're never going to get away from having a bad guy. And here's the odd thing, a lot of people see themselves as the good guy. And it's a part of us because there are good parts of us. There are really good parts of us.
For sure.
But having to have that juxtaposed, what if we didn't need a bad guy anymore? What if we just got to be the good guys? What if we just got to be the women who are ascended, the men who are ascended? And it's fun and it's poignant and it's deep and it's exciting because your own higher energy is filling you with inspiration on a daily basis, with the what to do, with your messages, with the this is what your wake up actually means, or hey, snap out of it, get a piece of paper and write down what I've got for you because it's good stuff. Now, I've told that to people when they want to be writers and they're journaling and they're creating their novel, a lot of people want to write this journey. I had someone just the other day, she actually sent in a script to the Hallmark Channel.
Wow.
And, I mean, our stories are the material and the content that others are looking for. And it's
Yeah,
not just to have like, oh, it's all, like you said, fluff in the beginning.
it
I
isn't.
mean, I guess I want my fluff one way, and other people want their fluff another way, and other people want a fluffernutter sandwich. That's fine. But,
I
but,
also,
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
I just also feel like you're wanting to reach something, I feel inside you that you so desire, whether it's a lifestyle, whether it's this dream of having this beautiful relationship. And it's attainable, but I remember a conversation we had a while back just about how people, and I felt this many times too, is you feel dispirited. You don't feel like there's anything left inside there anymore. And it's like, I'm dead. And until I started doing some of this work, did I start to feel this love that I was like, I'd never felt before. Or I felt like I was vibing at a different place. And I was like, wow, like things are just starting to kind of like flow and happen. And all of a sudden, this just happened. And I just thought about it. And it was like, it was magic. It was like, wow, this is real. This is
The
real.
universe will rise up to meet you where you're at when you do it because you're important. And
Yeah.
it's so easy on this journey to feel like you're insignificant, or you go to the beach and you're just like, God, I'm a little bigger than a grain of sand, but look how vast this is. And that's just planet Earth. It's real easy to feel small, to play small, to feel insignificant, feel like you don't matter. But as we can see, the more people that, look at the effects of like transforming. Now, how does anyone transform like that? It takes work. It takes a decision. You decide that you're going to do it, because that naggy voice that you talked about inside, where it's like, are people seeing it? I contend that a lot of people do. A lot of people have that little naggy voice going, you shouldn't drink so much.
Yeah.
Something will happen.
Yeah. You
Or
should have that.
you really should quit smoking, or all the
Discuss.
best of the New Year's resolutions, like right there, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to do this. How many people have already forgotten their resolution? I mean, a lot,
Yes. And
I
I
would
know
say.
even today when I was teaching class this morning, we were talking just about how we want to improve and change this year. And it was like, yeah, every time I join the gym in January, it's like by February, I'm not doing anything. So, and
Yeah.
I can feel the spirit of wanting to still get in shape and do certain things, but part of that is just like that joy, that like
Mhm.
feeling good when you're moving and doing something. So, but I was like, oh, I know we got on here today, and I thought, I'd like to ask you a few questions,
Yeah, go
Patricia,
ahead. Yes.
because you are such a wealth of knowledge and someone that I really respect and
It's
admire.
because I've gotten woken up at night for years. That's when I do my writing. Hope that
So,
answers one question. And I
well,
have it down. I have the routine down.
that's good. What I wanted to ask you though is just about how, okay, so I'm in this place and say I'm going to go see a psychic and they're going to do a reading for me and they're going to tell me certain things, which I think like we sometimes we just have to start somewhere. We have to get little bits of information that help us to get to a certain level. But what is it that you feel like you want to share anything about that for yourself, what you see for people doing that or what they could do differently?
Well, the first thing I would say is that everyone has the ability to be psychic, and the word spiritual connotes some bad things for people, like just like the word religion does. But our spirit has I call it bells and whistles, but we have connections, we have extra senses to us that if we develop them, we become our own psychic. That's number one. Have I ever consulted psychics? Yeah, I have. Um, One thing I'll say about psychics, I'm not here to discredit people that work as a psychic, okay? My work involves my psychic abilities, but what I have learned is there's levels, and there's people that work under here and they're reading the mind. Like, in other words, they can pick up people's
Right.
immediate thoughts from the ego mind. There are other people that truly are deep and sorry, I think I kind of got blurry there a minute. Let me turn this back on. Okay, there we go. There are people that don't clear. So a lot of those psychic lines, they're taking person after person after person. The
Mm,
owner of those psychic lines is cashing in, and they could be a good person, but they're accumulating as an empath all these people's stuff. The one thing I teach everyone is clear yourself, or stand clear, or maintain your ability to be clear of other people's stuff, because then it's not flavoring your own messages, your own ability to pick up and detect things.
right.
The other thing I encourage people to do is use the innate gift of your body, of your light body, to do this. And yeah, maybe you trip and fall. It's a bit like learning to swim or walk or fly. And you're going to make a few mistakes. Okay. Hopefully they are not dire mistakes or financially terrible mistakes. I've seen some people make some financially terrible mistakes that they thought was guidance. I had someone once say, well, Archangel Michael told me to stop paying the mortgage. And I was like, whoa, Nilly, like, you have to do this because otherwise you wind up in legal trouble. You'll be foreclosed on, lose your habitat, lose your home, etc. Like, that's maybe an extreme example of some not good guidance. And
Right.
discernment is required. Working with your discernment, pausing until you're sure, is that working for you or not? Okay. And this is something that everyone should ask themselves, how's it working for you? It's something that my guides hammered home to me, like, well, how's that working for you now? Because you can outgrow something, you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
and use your body instead of tools. I write this in my book. I tell people how to get their channels open. So here's some of my things about psychics. When I was getting divorced, and I mean, this was years ago, this was more than 2 decades ago, I was going through divorce, and the odd thing is I was getting all kinds of energetic signals. I was dreaming of my twin. We were kissing in another realm. And I mean, it was so vividly real. I would wake up and look at my now ex-husband and I'd be like, oh, you are so not that person. Like, why can't you be that person? Like, what am I going to have to do now? And other things happened. We were sitting and I could feel what felt like, I thought it was his energy flit off. What I realized is that was my twin flames energy that flitted off. And I said, there it goes. Now, from that point, something deep inside me knew, you will get a divorce. But another part of me was like, no, I don't want to give up. That was my ego. The ego breakdown was awful. It was awful. I was hyperventilating. I was having panic attacks. Like, it does something, because what happens is your higher self is yanking this out.
Mhm.
Okay. And it does pull on those areas that are the fight or flight. And we can feel this when our twin flame starts going through their breakups.
Right.
So what happened then was, I guess I was looking for someone to tell me what I wanted to hear. And I consulted a psychic who was, I think she's still around. I won't name her name, but she was well regarded, and it cost, and I don't blame her for valuing her gift. People should value their gifts. So
Yes.
I was willing to make the investment. And
Hmm.
she had a lovely British accent. And at some point, because I was saying, who's this person I'm dreaming of? I mean, they're kissing me so passionately. They love me. I can feel them. Where am I supposed to find them? And like, now my husband wants a divorce, and what am I going to do? And do you know what she said to me? She said, but my dear, you will get a divorce. And I burst into tears because it was like that emotional dam just broke. I
Mm,
needed to hear it. I
yeah.
knew it. I knew it deep inside, but I needed to hear it. And I didn't need someone to tell me. I guess I just, when you hope you're going to hear what you want to hear, but
Yeah.
you hear the opposite,
Yeah.
but deep inside, you can finally acknowledge it and be like, okay, there it is. I have to accept this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason people consult psychics, they also consult priests because they can feel that this is divine in nature. They
Right.
feel like it's coming from God. God is giving them a message, whether or not they believe in God, because atheists have this happen. They don't believe in God, but they still have metaphysical things happen to them, energies. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is the number one thing people say. It's like, it's not just they woke up, there's an energy, there's an energetic component with it. And
Mm-hmm.
so what I found over the years is that, people talk to their priests or their shamans, and a lot of times those people don't know this twin flame journey. They don't know the reasons why, they don't know the how to, they don't know how to get you to the next steps. If it's the wrong person, they'll just tell you they're a narcissist. Even the kindest of psychic shamans, priests will tell you if something's toxic, and some people still cannot accept it. They
Mm-hmm.
can't handle the truth. I was
Mm-hmm.
at a point where I could handle the truth. So the next step that I did, because this felt very divine in nature, even though it was breaking down, like that was what I couldn't understand was, it was juxtaposing the feelings that God is behind it and orchestrating it for me on my behalf and doing the things I could not do for myself, and understanding what is it that I could do or should do. So I went into a mode where I decided to do nothing for about a week. Then I went back to God, and I know it now to be my communing state. I know that I did it because it is the result of being a twin flame. It was the result of having these interdimensional touch and goes with my twin kissing me. It
Mm-hmm.
geared me up for being able to commune at a level where I could start to get reasonable answers. And
Mm-hmm.
the answers started coming. How would we do this?
Mm-hmm.
How would we do this? Like, what was the best course of action? Because I was not a person who was unaware of divorces. I worked in a place where we handled a lot of divorce situations. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like really terrible stuff like domestic violence, infidelities, financial infidelities, credit cards that were racked to the limit, and a spouse who didn't care. They didn't care that they had put their other spouse into the hole.
Mm-hmm.
People that they ignored their children throughout the whole process, or the children were pawns. We even had a couple that under their sink, the cleaners, that was written in their divorce decree. She gets the comic cleanser, he gets the Windex. Why do people need to get that petty? So I swear to myself, and I swear to God, I mean, like really, like I said, God, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be a detective. I don't want to be petty,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to be fair. I shouldn't be screwed either. I shouldn't be backstabbed. I shouldn't, let him steamroll me. And do you know what? It started to flip. So that was actually a helpful time that I had the psychic. She did not guide me in those things. As the result of that experience, I've been able to guide others and help them to develop their intuitions and their gifts so that it's the best of themselves, it's the best of their best, and best for everyone concerned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know
So
that people I've worked with too is just that overlay and wanting to now really start to trust that these little things that they're starting to get nudged about are things to
yeah,
pay attention to. And we're so used to asking somebody else, well, you tell me, you tell me. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, let me just stop a minute. And yeah, that feels right for me. And I know that sometimes when we're in different types of relationships, you might have, been controlled a lot by others, and that's not even a natural thing to listen to your intuition. And then once it's really starts to get opened, and I know for myself now, it's just like it's instant and what I can feel and what I know. And
Yeah.
it's really special, very special.
Tell me if you notice this. Do you sometimes feel like it's angelic, but also slightly like animalistic, like where you're like, oh, that immediately made my hair stand up, or I immediately got goosebumps because that was so true, or I immediately felt my heart do this because like the heart just expanding because it was so poignant, or I heard that song and I could just feel us connect. Does that happen to you?
Yeah, I've had experiences on this journey that have just been so profound that keep me on the journey. And even in an early sleep in the morning one time, and I had a dream that I was being hugged. It was like the person was hugging me in real life. And I woke up and I was like, oh my God, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember telling you, and I was just, it was like, oh, thank you for giving me that. That was one more thing that I needed to just keep believing in this process, which can also be crazy making because you don't talk to everybody about this kind of stuff. But all I know is
Yeah, they don't
that
get it.
the more though that we're sharing this and talking about it, the more people are going to be like, oh my God, that happened to me too. It was just like today we were talking about something and people start to connect the dots. And then it's like, you know what? This is the way for us to shift. This is the way for us to be now in the world with everything that needs to change. We need to change. We need to do this.
Yeah.
And it's time. And, it doesn't have to be so scary. I think that's the big thing. You need those, in bowling when they have those little bumper things that come up on the side when you throw the
Yeah.
ball. I always think of that. It's kind of like you're bouncing around, but you still have that support to walk through it. And
Yeah.
you've had some really great group stuff that you've done and we've done together too that
Yeah.
make you feel like you can share a little bit more and hear somebody else's side of the story of everything else too that's been going on.
Yeah. So actually make a very good point because we are going to have groups. We have one coming up, which is to open your channels so that you can receive, so that you can breathe better, sleep better, create better, love better. Because if your sleep level is part of your love making levels, remember that. Remember that in your heart. Remember, like you want to feel that body memory. And, we have that coming up. A lot of topics we cover throughout the year. I follow what the energies and what my guidance is telling me in terms of what's happening with people. Right now, what's happening is ancestry, trauma stuff, sleepless nights, get a new level and use your light body to do it. Use your brand new twin flame body to do it. Because, a lot of people, they're being asked this question like Deepak Chopra. He doesn't know. Because you know why? It's for us to know. It's for us. You are the leaders. You are important. You are the people who are the pioneers and going first. I'm
Yeah.
the advanced scout. Me and Michelle, we're the Sherpas taking you up to that 10,000-foot level and
Yeah.
getting you accustomed to it so you can really climax, pinnacle or whatever they call it, summit and
Exactly.
climax.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. Because if you don't have the kissing part, all the pendulums and crystals in the
Yeah.
world and
I'm and I
it's not gonna
yeah, and I think I'm so
want real stuff.
I'm tired of hearing that, oh, you're going to be solo for the rest of your life and it's
Oh,
not about romance and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, stop listening to the BS that's out there. If you want
yeah.
the real deal, this is it. It is. And it's not a call.
Michelle does it.
Yeah.
She has
We,
rolled up her sleeves and, she,
yeah. I think I want to do a Netflix series one day on my life story because man, it's been a journey. And I can tell you, like speaking of some of the things that I've experienced, I've been on the other side of a suicide. So I know what it's like to have gone through that process. And there's still that part of my spirit was like, there's gotta be someone special for me. There's gotta
yes,
be
another
another
you.
part of my life and my journey. So don't give up. Don't give up because the magic can
Try it
happen.
differently. So
Yeah.
if you're watching, the people out there and like, yeah, talking about Netflix, here's a lot of things Netflix didn't cover. There's like a tome of everything that this really is and not what it isn't. Okay, it's
Yeah.
not about starting a church. It's not about being the second coming of Jesus. It's not those things. It's not about misdirecting people or telling them who their twin flame is. You have the connections innately inside you. You have a body memory of love. You have an innate drive to live and thrive and not suicide yourself. But for angelics in our karmic lives, suicide has been a solution. If you look at
Yeah.
it from like a point of view of like, hey, should I stay here and get abused? It's trauma o'clock. I'm not here to be abused. I'll just suicide myself and I'll check
Get it
out my own
done.
damn self. I'm
Yeah.
out of here. I'm not going to stand around for you to like, because your spirit is already up here calling you and going like, don't stay, don't stay. We got
Yes.
another life for you to live. Don't get
Yes.
kidnapped, don't get held hostage, don't get abused and abused. This is why people look like a shell of themselves when they finally find them.
Yeah.
They've dispirited. So we're here to put everything back together. You're not a broken soul. This is your opportunity to really feel who you really are, like really are
Yeah.
really, 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 truly.
And that trauma, like you talked about, like getting it up and out and done is the body and being able to recognize the sensations, the crazy making,
Yeah, like
the
get the
stuff.
hell off of me. Get the
Yeah,
collective, get their mental thoughts,
totally.
you know.
And the other
Yeah.
thing I just before we're going to wrap up here too, is just to talk just about what I'm also noticing is people that have injuries and have like lots of stuff going on in their body
Oh,
that
yeah.
can be healed through the work with the light body. It
It
doesn't
is
have,
one of my dearest wishes to help people heal from injuries, paralysis, like where they're a paraplegic and they're in a wheelchair.
yeah,
And it is a dimensional thing. So my guidance is telling me it's about 2 years away. And I heard a commercial for like those camps, those burn camps for kids who've been affected by a fire and they're burnt or they're mangled, they are, disformed as a result of it. I feel for them. I mean, I would love to be able to regrow that tissue. That's the kind of magic we want, is not just get
yes,
people out of the toxic, but like, can we really ramp it up here? I mean,
yes,
science is trying, the way I see the science in the medical communities is, we need to meet each other in the middle and not just have like, oh, well, science or, oh, well, medical. There are people there. And once we do the miraculous stuff, people still need the medical care. They still need the nutrition. They still have a biology. Um, I I did heal something and I consider it miraculous, but it was when I was making my dimensional footholds. I had been in a car accident when I was 19 and I had this dent here. It was right here because I hit a tree and it went into my leg and it dented it. And so what happened? What happened? I finally get to this point. I mean, even my ex-husband, he had an auto body shop. He would be like, oh, I should put a little Bondo in there. Like it was a joke. It was a running joke. But like nobody could press it because I could walk, I could run it. I never broke my leg when it happened, but like it was tender. Well, what I learned is there are nerves that are connected to another dimension that support you. So what happened with me is when I hit that in the new paradigm, I had an excruciatingly painful hour of my tissues filling in. My body seemed to pull the meat that was needed from parts of me. And I was like, I didn't know what to do except allow it to happen because, again, it felt like it was being driven by my soul.
Mm,
And the tissue filled in. And it's
amazing.
not tender. I can press it. And, you know, like I go for a massage and I'd have to say to them, please watch my dent. I called it my dent in my leg. Please watch my dent because it is so tender. Like, don't press it. I was even getting one at the mall, and me and the guy went really close, and I started giggling because I had that tickle point, and he and I are like laughing. But I was like, please don't dig into my dent. I mean, it would have been so painful years ago. And now that it has miraculously healed, I have a potential of what is possible. This is another thing about, I mean, we could talk about it another time with the
Yeah.
light body, with our
Yes.
gifts, with our healing abilities. What things are we really capable of? Not just, oh God, I need people to move along here. I feel like such an urgency, like, hey, we really got to get to
Yeah.
the kissing and the healing part, the really good healing part. Get those
Yeah.
people out of those wheelchairs, get them up and walking again, like really walking where, you know, their discs are healed, their spinal cord is healed, their skin is healed. The skin is the
Yes.
largest organ in the body.
Yes. Yes.
And
I
it
think there's
carries
so
all your connections through your peripheral nervous system to your etheric body. That's how you sense things.
I think there's so much more to come, Patricia, and I know you know that too as well. So you like you're on the verge of something major happening here with all of it. I mean, it's an exciting time to see the shift go on, but it takes people to engage in what they need to do it. They need to step up. They need to not be afraid.
Yeah.
And
You got to
that they're
invest in yourself at anything, whether you're investing in your business, you're investing in a home, you're
Mhm.
investing in your education, invest in your ascension, please.
Yes.
We keep it tight, keep it tight, but it's an investment.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's an
Well,
exciting time.
yeah, we're going to talk more, but not anymore today. So thanks, Michelle. Thanks for coming on with me and allowing yourself to be open, maybe not raw and vulnerable. You know, we neither of us cried.
But we do like
I
to
I
cry.
can. I don't want to mock crying. People need to be able to feel. Like it's not a shame to feel
Oh, I
emotions, but
know.
oh my God, there's such a stigma around feeling. But
I
you have to
still,
balance it. You have to balance feeling with
yes,
behavior.
yes. And I
Not
still
just
sometimes get that too because I do feel very deeply. And in my
yeah.
own moments, I'm just like, I could be a blittering idiot, just like, "Moo, moo, moo, moo," you know?
Oh,
And
that's me. Like oh, the puppies. Oh.
I know, or I see something on TV and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, and it just touches the heart, and other people are going like, "What'd you have for breakfast?" Yeah.
Yeah. Like I told you, the kid at school yesterday, he told me he loved me. I love
Oh
you.
yeah.
Oh, just like, thank you. Just, and I think that's the beauty about working with children. They can
Tell
feel,
what he wants to be. You got
yes,
to
he
tell
wants to
that.
be professional soccer player.
And
So,
he doesn't look the type. I mean, you don't have to say how he is, but you know, other people might look and be like, yeah,
no,
that's not what God's plan is for you, right? But it's up to him. It's up to
totally.
him.
He's like, I'm practicing. He was so adorable. And I encourage consistently like that feeling for whoever is talking about what they're sensing and knowing, even at a young age. And he might be, who knows? But I could just feel him, and he's like, "You're such a good teacher." And then I love you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, come over." And then he hugged me, and it was just so adorable. Just his mom was standing there and she was beaming. So it's great work. And
Oh,
get
absolutely. Be proud of yourself. And thanks so much for being on here with me.
Yeah, thank you so
And
much for all the sharing. It was good. I hope that people will take an opportunity to reach out.
please join us, learn from us, be with us, develop yourself, and be in love.